there's any way that we can help you all moving forward. So if anyone wants to start, I don't really have any preference, but
I don't mind starting unless anybody's really eager to.
go ahead, Luke. You got it.
Okay, so we are about to have our third meeting, either tomorrow or it'll be Thursday, and we've had some pretty productive meetings so far. We've had a great dialogue, some differing opinions and points of view, which has really been great. Thank you to the chief for getting us back the information promptly. It's been a great help. One thing I wanted to share with everybody, a resource I found very valuable, and I can't remember if I said this last time, so forgive me if I did, but I believe it's called the COPS program. It's through the DOJ. And it's if you Google DOJ COPS, it's pretty much a whole whole data bank of different areas, whether it's building trust in your community, use of force, community advisory boards, all these different sorts of things. And there's a lot of case studies on that website. There's a bunch of suggestions, and it's been a really great resource. I've told my subcommittee group about it, and I wanted to share it with you folks because I found it very helpful. Otherwise, I think we're doing pretty well. I checked in with folks a couple days ago, and it sounds like we're doing well. We divided up our sections. There's 6 to 7 of us, depending on the week. So two of us are taking each section and kind of looking at each of the question and coming up with suggestions and ideas for each question and point, and to expand or extrapolate on, or to kind of go from there. So I think it's been productive. I think that there's a lot of questions. Some I can answer, some I can't, because I think a lot of folks here. I don't want to speak for everybody. This is my first time being in a group like this, but I think we feel comfortable working together. I think that was a big important step.
Luke, what is your committee? What is the category of it? What is it?
It's the committee that looks at building effective. Oopsies. Essentially it's the community engagement committee. It's got a longer name than that, number 2, but it's looking at outreach plans, community advisory boards, marginalized communities, kind of building partnerships with the community is essentially kind of it's got a longer title than that, but that's the gist of it.
Are you able to share with us at this time any of the things that you've been talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I found was very helpful. I've got two. My one computer was being slow, so I opened my work one, and then this one sped up. So bear with me just a moment here. One particular idea that looked very helpful, which I thought was a very productive idea, was this idea of the Citizen Advisory Board continuing on. But I thought it was a very what's the word I'm looking for? Good idea, for lack of better words. It was, I read this in one of there was a police accountability study from 2000. And it's called a Police Review and a Citizen Police Appeal Board. And the idea behind this is it's kind of building trust within the department as well as within the community. If you bear with me for a minute, I'll read it here. It handles every aspect of complaint on the complaint continuum, but the complaint may be appealed to a board of citizens and officers. So essentially what this is suggesting is if there is a complaint against an officer, for example, it would be handled internally by the police department. If the aggrieved party does not feel that the problem was adequately solved, then it can go to a board combined of police officers or department officials as well as community members. And it seemed like a great way to not only build trust within the police department with the community, but to also put some additional trust in our officers. And it just seemed like a really great kind of way to build that trust without taking out the power away or the responsibility away from the police department, was one particularly useful thing that I found. Other things from similar reports, is things that we've talked about. There's studies that show increasing bicycle and foot patrols really have a positive impact on the community. It helps a lot with recognition and community building. And engaging with other sectors of the community, particularly marginalized groups. Another study shows that regular meet and greet nights might be a little bit difficult with COVID, but once things are a little healthier, establishing not necessarily meet and greet nights, but social nights periodically, having forums periodically, working with different community groups, really just to kind of build that face-to-face contact is what a lot of these reports are emphasizing. And I've got other things, but I don't want to take up too much air unless others are.
Plenty of air if you want to share things.
Those are the major things. We've got a couple other things that kind of fall into those subcategories. Let's see here. One thing that seemed pretty interesting, an idea, was something I hadn't really talked about, was the idea of establishing a community presence without doing an intelligence exercise. So for example, and not to say this happens with our department, but just it's a good idea to put it in place, I think. Whether you're holding community events, whether a police officer or officers are at a community event, they should be there pretty much solely for a community event. They shouldn't be there necessarily gathering intelligence or investigating. Essentially, if they're investigating, they should be investigating if they're there for a social event, kind of keeping it social as a way to build trust up. Obviously, unless there's an emergency. But those are kind of the umbrella terms and umbrella ideas. And there's several points to each one of those.
Off to a great start. Thanks, Luke. Who would like to go next?
I could go next.
Okay, perfect, Aaliyah.
All right, let me just clear. All right, so I'm on the first subcommittee, and that's just kind of going over the staffing and the budgeting of the police department and what roles should the police department play in the community. So where we left off, we met with Chief Brenner to kind of look over the budget information and just have him explain like what this was, what that was, and how much money is being like spent towards what specific things. And so we were kind of working with him, and we kind of both, there are like some things where it could be used to be put back into the community instead. So we kind of agreed on that, and we're just like looking around like where the wiggle room in committee. There's people who are like tied to mental health facilities or just have these resources outside of Oneonta, and we kind of want to reach out to them. So I was told to reach out to Dennis Nayer, who was the old police chief here in Oneonta, and he kind of moved to Ithaca, and Ithaca is also a 2-college town. So we were thinking of talking with them and seeing what they plan on doing, and if there's like anything we could bounce off from them. We also plan on reaching out to this I'm not like sure what exactly it is, but it's a place in New Jersey, and they've kind of already implemented the use of social workers instead of officers to kind of deal with like homelessness or like any issues having to do with family disputes. So we plan on talking with them and just seeing how they were able to get that up and running, and then maybe we could kind of get that and just kind of fit it into more of what Oneonta needs. Let's see what else. When we were going over the budgeting information with Chief Brenner, we realized that like most of the things had more to do with the like police union works and the collective bargaining agreement. So I felt like kind of stumped with that. But I think reaching out to them maybe would also be like a good starting point, and just to kind of bring it all together. Yeah, we also, this isn't like really part of my jurisdiction, but we also sort of talked about the sensitivity trainings that the officers had, and just kind of how we can have more affordable trainings with the more diverse people, like who really is in charge of giving these sorts of trainings, and seeing how we can make more officers come be a part of these sensitivity trainings. And that would just kind of bring the community and the officers together.
Lovely. I heard your last meeting was like 2 hours, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we kind of really dove into that.
I love it.
That was me. I talk too much.
No,
I'll
that's
take the blame for that one.
So it sounds like the only thing that you need a little more context with, Aaliyah, it might be like the police unions and how they function. Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Shannon, you want to go next?
Hi, everyone. So I'm chair of subcommittee 4, and we are recruiting and supporting excellent personnel, though we absolutely have not stayed in our lane at all, and we are in everybody else's questions as well. So some of like what Luke talked about, we definitely have been discussing the continuation of this board. However, our idea of a new board that would continue from here once this one is dissolved doesn't include any officers. It's going to be set up a little bit differently. We're still kind of figuring out how we'd like to set that up. But you know, everyone's going to have different ideas. We're all going to come together. I'm sorry. So we also are, been talking about like reappropriating funds, even though that's not technically like in our category, but we kind of, when we explore things, we just kind of keep going and delve deeper. Our recommendations are going to be put together in the end. So it's nice to see, you know, we're all going to have overlap. We're all going to have those pieces that are going to end up coming together. So more specifically in my lane, what we've been working on, we have been working on creating a poll that we are going to release to the citizens of the city of Oneonta. It's going to be broken up into the category of the current districts, depending like, you know, city council districts. So people it can be anonymous. They just answer what district they believe that they live in. It's going to be about 20 questions. And we're currently getting those questions wrapped up so we can see how people in each section kind of feel, who's having interactions with the police, who's not, what they're like, feedback. It's not going to be technically like fill in the blank. It's going to be as quick, seamless as possible since it's going to be so long. We are going to be posting that on our Facebook and putting it out through other means, including Instagram. Another piece that we talked about is actually we're on our own going to create a flyer for how people can report and excuse me, make a complaint about the police. A lot of people that we've spoken to or have reached out and contacted us have explained that they really don't know how to make a complaint or file a complaint if they'd like to, and they don't necessarily want to go to the police station. They don't know that like NAACP has forms, City Hall has forms, they can come to the Human Rights Commission. So we would like to, on our own, we're going to get a flyer out to people in the community just as a board, so people understand and know how to go about filing a complaint if necessary. So yeah, we've been working on a lot of stuff. We're meeting every Monday at 7 p.m. and we've been trying to get the mayor in. Unfortunately, my Zoom is not working properly, so we'll get him in soon, but that's what we're doing.
Nice, very good. Do you all have any questions or anything that's come up that you feel like you need more information on, or you feel like you're on your way?
I think we're good on my subcommittee. We're looking forward to Katie will be joining us for as long as she can. on Thursday. And any kind of questions that come up kind of on the personnel slash side of things, which I think have been mostly the questions, kind of specifics of that. So looking forward to having Katie there. Thanks, Katie.
Bryce, are you able to provide any info on your committee with Rob? I know he's not here today.
Yeah, I could see if there's a technical, or I'll reach out. I don't have his number, but his email. But we do. I don't have like a full report, but just based on our meetings, and we've been working like on kind of like a SharePoint together as a group. But our group is subcommittee on fostering community-oriented leadership and cultural accountability. So some of the things that we were having conversations about, and then Professor Kyle Burke, he's on our subcommittee. He works at Hartwick College. He was kind of helping me with some of the, the terminology when we were reviewing the documents. Thank you, Chief Brenner, for providing. Just really helpful to kind of go over certain aspects. And the only things that we were kind of just seeing as we do more research as a group is the process involving like incidents of force and kind of the investigation process. I'm just going to read some notes that Professor Burke helped me with. And, the rest of the group, but he had some insights about, just everything going on. Just some things we're just going to look at with the department dealing with misconduct and use of force, including deadly force, are in basically based on our review of the documents. We're still kind of learning everything, but basically we just saw that with deadly force primarily handled in-house by the Oneonta Police Department. So we just kind of saw that as the chief decides to pursue criminal charges at the discretion solely, bearing some kind of leak to the media or the DA. So basically, we looked at some of those things in the documents of how the process goes, and just kind of things in the past from the Daily Star, like some incidents of force, even though it's outdated, but just to kind of give us a sense of kind of how we can improve things in the future. So really, we're just looking at how, if there's a way we can improve that process involving the community in any way when it comes to those incidents, or just like with the process within the department. So I know that'll take some time, and I think what we'll do, Chief Brenner, is when I talk to the group, maybe just setting up a meeting to get some clarity with some things and go through that process. But it's a good process, but we definitely, just from reviewing it, we could, I wouldn't say revolutionize, but see if we can make some progressions as a group in those areas. And then the second thing that I'm just starting to look at, I'm working on with the Sheriff's Department committee, and I'm just trying to update to see what we can do, is just consistent surveying, coming up with a system where we can get the community feedback, kind of going off of, with Shannon's group, of just having constant communication from the community. I'm setting up a system where it's consistent, where we're able to receive that data. And then the one thing that I was looking at, I just went to a presentation in our last committee and just trying to find more research, is finding some data, trying to find consistent data involving our executive board when it comes to racial disparities. Like when someone gets pulled over, depending on race demographics, are they being questioned, for drugs or any other things? And are they finding drugs or any other, things? Like, what are the percentages and what are the statistics to those? The guest speaker, he was from the University of Kansas. He's working in that area. He looked at Otsego County's numbers, and he looked at the states, and he was just kind of giving us some, feedback and help when it comes to collecting data, so we can always review, if there's any racial disparities within our counties, and review it each year. So that's just where we are right now, and we're going to meet. We have a meeting next week, whole group.
I had 2 comments to make about that. The first one would have to be about the incidence of force. I realized that like the documentation about what happens in that case, it was updated, I think, in 2014. And I can assume that like there have been a few incidents since then where like maybe an officer has kind of abused their power. So I feel like looking into that document and kind of updating it would definitely be a good idea. I kind of stood in for the meeting that you were talking about for like 30 minutes ish. What you were saying, basically just having these sorts of like demographics and like this documentation up for people to see. Like I know that the University Police Department of Oneonta kind of has like a breakdown of like the demographics of like the people that they call over, people that they pull over, or that they search and stuff. So I feel like kind of having that for the Oneonta Police Department would be a very good idea. And I also know that with the call log, it was like very extensive, so we weren't able to look into it, but maybe finding a way to kind of filter through that so that it could be more accessible for people to look through would be a good idea as well.
I agree, Aaliyah. And that's the thing. Also, guys, I'll share with you the PowerPoint as well. Mayor Herzeg, I saw you are on, so I know you have some knowledge base, but we're supposed to get the slideshow. So I think it could help us with some future ideas to just kind of see what the community's feeling and kind of have those statistics, just to help to guide us in the process. I think, will be good for our city.
Yeah, Bryce, thanks for sharing the link to the presentation this evening done by the consultant for the county board, review board. I did log on for the first half of it. I thought it was interesting. It was a little, concerning. The consultant presented the data for Otsego County. Now that's all of Otsego County, so it's not broken up by municipalities or police department. Could be New York State Police, could be sheriff, could be Cooperstown. We don't know. It's congregated, but it shows that Otsego County's the disparity in arrests between white people and people of color compared to the population, a relative population of both groups is 2 to 5 times greater, depending upon the category, than either all of New York State or just upstate New York. Now, again, those are raw numbers. There could be more to it than that, but it is certainly something that requires looking closer into. Just quickly, I wrote down some of the numbers. 1.8% of the population of Otsego County are people of color. Yet 13.8% of all felony arrests are people of color. 29.4% of all drug felonies are people of color. 8.7% of all misdemeanor arrests are people of color. And 10% of all misdemeanor drug arrests are people of color. So the biggest standout, they were all way higher than the population percentage. The biggest standout, almost 30% compared to 1.8%, was drug felony arrests. And it was also pointed out that a very large percentage of drug felony arrests are a result of traffic stops. So something certainly on the surface presents numbers that need to be examined in greater detail. And again, those are not specific to the city of Oneonta. That's for all of Otsego County. They did not have numbers broken down finer than that. A couple of other things. You know, I hear talks about surveys and Instagram posts, comments. That's all good. I think we spoke last time about setting up some type of a public hearing, and also in which people can log in to comment. I think we should continue to pursue that, keeping in mind different demographics, particularly age groups, use different types of media. Most older people don't use Instagram. Instagram is greatly skewed towards younger folks. So those that are over 50, over 40, let alone those like me over 70, are likely not to see what's on Instagram. So that we don't get skewed data by having it on only one media, we may want to do a public hearing as well for people who don't use social media, et cetera. So we should keep that going forward. Also, I would encourage the committees to start taking your work and perhaps putting them in starting to document them maybe as a bullet list of observations, discoveries, and another bullet list of recommendations, because, you know, ultimately that's what our report will need. And the sooner we can start looking at it that way, the sooner we can compare that to the topics that should be considered to make sure that we're not missing anything that is appropriate for Oneonta to be looking at.
Have any of you started like jotting any of this down in written form? Okay. Good.
Yes, and I've asked my other subcommittee members to do the same with their sections.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you have concerns about how you will get from where you are now to the final end? Can you see a path to there, or is that something that seems very vague and needs to be structured better?
I know that like this is something new that we're kind of doing, but if there were like some sort of examples of like the form that this would kind of take on, because I could very much do like bulleting and stuff like that, but to really get the entire detailing that's needed for this task force, I guess like some sort of example of like how we would really begin drafting this. And I guess it would also be just kind of looking into other districts and like communities that have done this already before, just to kind of get an example. But I'll definitely be doing some like research on that, and maybe if I find something, I'll be sure to share that.
That would be very helpful, Leah. That would be great. I reached out through the New York Conference of Mayors. I could not find anything. Again, everybody's doing this for the first time at the same time. And the state is not providing any format. They're letting everybody do what's appropriate for their community. So there may be not much to go on, but if you find anything, that would be certainly appreciated and helpful. You know, I mean, ultimately, it's going to be about talking about what's been discovered and what recommendations the board is going to make to the city to do things differently than we have been doing them. You know, how that gets formatted is probably less important than it covers that content.
So I think when we start to get information back from the polls, the forums, et cetera, that can inform the discoveries that may lead to the ultimate recommendation for your subcommittees. So I think even with all the information that Chief Brenner has been providing thus far, if you want to, I think a good place to start might be to just call it discovery, semicolon, and then say maybe a couple facts, maybe 3 to 5 sentences. And then based on what you discovered, whether it be from the facts that already exist or what comes from the community, you can then say our recommendation is so on and so forth. So that might just be the easiest way to do it, just so there's context to where the recommendation's coming from. And then again, when we lay it all together, it will make sense. It will be, here's the facts, here's where we're coming from based on the facts, and then so on and so forth. So, but if Aaliyah, when you go scouting, if you're able to see, you know, just maybe what someone else has done thus far, and they seem to have a nicer layout, it's also something that could be looked at. So, but for now, go with that. Other thoughts? Shannon, I feel like you're trying to get, okay.
Yeah, real quick, I just wanted to say that we put our poll and survey questions up against 8 other communities who are currently doing this right now, who also had the idea to do surveys as well. So it's not like, you know, some of the questions we're manifesting, but some of them we've also gathered from other people who are doing the same thing right now. I also kind of wanted to say if it would be okay, I'm not sure if this is possible, but if the chairs of the subcommittees could meet with each other at some point and kind of like just touch base about like some of the main pieces that they're doing and they're thinking about, because there is some overlap and like some idea sharing that can go on.
I like that idea a lot. I like that idea a lot, Shannon.
I can organize that amongst the group, and then we'll, you know, I'll send out a doodle to see when everyone's available. I know Aaliyah, you have finals, so we gotta get you through that first. But when's your last final?
The 14th, this Monday.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll put it for basically the 15th to the end of the week and see if we can find a time. Perfect.
Chief, any comments from you? Thoughts?
No, not really. We're just going along. I haven't heard anything. You know, I think all the ideas that everyone's coming up with, something we can look at, something we can work with. I do want to say one thing though, to Gary and Shannon, congratulations on your recognition from Job Corps. I think that's good. I think that's great. I was at that meeting I was on the meeting the other day, and I didn't know if you guys were there, but I well deserved. So
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I could not attend. We had something, I forget what it was, but we had something going on, a Zoom meeting here that I wasn't able to attend. But yeah, that was, you know, that was great. You know, I spent 12 years up at Job Corps, and I greatly enjoyed those 12 years.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it. You won the award as well. I think it was not that long ago.
yeah, mine's hanging up there. It's 2015. So, yeah.
Anaya
Wow.
just brought mine.
Yep.
Awesome. So if anyone, is everyone good? We feel good? Okay. In terms of next meeting, obviously the holidays are right here, literally. So we will likely be meeting again in the new year. Probably that first week. So be on the lookout. I'll send, will this time work for everyone for the new year? Like, does the meeting, like nothing else might conflict as far as anyone knows?
If it's the first Tuesday at this time, it will
council.
not work.
Okay.
Because that is we have council meetings on first and third Tuesday.
So how about we move to the second Tuesday at 7? So the 12th? Okay. So that will
Works
give
for me.
perfect. All right. So we'll go with the 12th, which will mean we're that much closer to February there. So,
Yep.
And after February is March, and after March is April. So, you know, we will pretty much be in the home stretch once we get back together. So, we want to make sure that we're utilizing the time wisely with the subcommittees in particular. So even though we're not meeting as a larger group, I do hope that you'll, you know, try to touch base with your subcommittee members so everything doesn't go completely out the window. So, okay. All right, folks. Well, have a good night. Again, good luck, Aaliyah, on your finals. Hang in there. Do well. All right.
Good luck
Bye,
and happy
everyone.
holidays, everybody.
Yes, same to you.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for all you're doing. Happy
Bye.
holidays. Good
Yes,
luck on your finals, Aaliyah.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
yes,
Take
likewise.
care, folks.